Hello, and welcome to the podcast There Are No Good Games, where we discuss our opinions on past, present, and future games, as well as a whole load of other filler to keep us sane while we wait for a good game to play. Let's begin. Welcome back to There Are No Good Games. It is now January. How are we feeling, Ollie? It's January, it's 2025, another year, another you. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, do years make much of a difference really nowadays? Things are just generally dreadful. So I mean, does it make much difference that we have now 5 at the end of the year instead of 4?
Yeah, but I mean, I think holistically 5 is a better number, It's midway through.
Yeah.
It's like a midpoint. Do you view the midpoint as 5 or 6? Like some people view
of the decade.
Yeah, of the decade. Are we halfway through? Do you include the 0? These are some of the questions I think is quite important,
Yeah, the 0 would be included for me. So I guess 5 is the halfway point. Yeah.
5 is the halfway point, and then do we stop at 10, or is 10 the new 0?
Well, 10 would be 30, so that would be the next one, would it not?
No, but I mean, is 30 like the new 0 point, or is it the end of a decade? Because this is
the start of the next one.
So we stop at 29.
Yes, that's the end of.
Okay, and therefore 5 is then bang on the middle because it's 4 backwards. No, it'd be 5 backwards.
But when you say halfway point, I mean the January 1st of 2025 is the halfway point of the entire decade. So you are halfway. You passed that point. You were over halfway. Then I guess
you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the halfway point. But then you go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the end of it, which is 29. Do you get what I mean? I think 1 and 0, like 1 and 10, is the end point. If you do 0, it should be 0 and 9, because then you're starting a new decade. No?
Right. So 2020 started. Okay, January 1st, 2020. That's the start of the decade. Okay.
Yes.
Plus 5 years, it is now 2025.
Yes.
January 1st. So that's the halfway point.
Yeah. But from a number sense, or I don't know what I'm trying to say here. From a
I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I feel like the halfway point is now.
Okay. The halfway point is now.
Yeah, we're past it now.
Jan 20th, 2025. We're at the halfway point.
Yeah,
of the decade.
The decade.
How would you view this decade in review? It's not been great, has it?
Half of it we're in lockdown.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's pretty. As a term of a ranking, I'd say that's pretty poor.
Is that F tier or is that D tier?
F tier. I would probably say, yeah, it's definitely. I'd say D tier. I mean, things got better. I mean, the good news is we're no longer in lockdown. That's like the only good thing about this decade, if you kind of think about it. So,
okay,
yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's been different. It's been great for gamers this decade, in sense of consuming content. From producing content, it hasn't been that great,
Yeah, I think that has been pretty poor. Yeah,
and I think we're starting to feel the shockwaves of the start of the decade, because the first 2 or 3 years it was no one was making anything. Everyone's consuming it because they had nothing else to do, and that was kind of it. But now we're in the second flourishing. We're in the second phase of content production,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. But I mean, should we not be thinking about how it's going to get better?
I mean, I think there's always. So I like this analogy I've heard. It's like driving a car. You look at the windshield, but you always look at your rear view mirror, because it's always important to reflect on the past but focus on the future,
Interesting.
And it stops you from crashing into past mistakes. If you're always looking forward, you never realize what you did and how you can stop crashing into the car behind you. But if you're always looking in your rear view mirror, you're going to hit a bollard or rear end someone. That's not going to be good.
Right.
Yeah.
That's quite I don't know. I think that's quite a negative view.
How so? I thought it was a positive view, honestly. You're looking forward, you're planning for the future, you're keeping your eye on the road, but then also just flick up occasionally and remember how you got here,
Yeah. I guess so. people don't like. Sometimes they're like, why don't look at the past, But then
Mm.
I often say, uh, don't look to don't look to the future either. Then
What,
because
look at the now, look at your gearbox. Is this the
yeah,
analogy
what
we're at?
about well, the thing is, you need to remember what's kind of what you've been through, that kind of stuff. I feel
Yeah, but
like
that's why you're looking at your rear view mirror. Like, if you're saying look at now, you're kind of looking at your gearbox, seeing, or your speedometer. I don't know how this analogy now works. Would you look at your speedometer or your seatbelt, or like
I don't know why you'd be driving looking at your seatbelt
you might have
unless you
forgotten to
forgotten
plug?
to put it
Yeah,
on.
that's what I mean.
I
You,
really,
you haven't put the
but how
safety on.
often? How often? I mean, I think that's kind of a you issue.
Yeah, no, exactly. If you don't secure the safety for the drive for life, you're then
Yeah,
going to go crashing through the window, and it's not going to go out.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So I would worry if that were
but
the case.
how would you focus on the now, if that makes sense?
How would I focus on the now?
Yeah, you said we're not looking for the windshield. We're not looking for the rear view mirror. We're
Mm,
focusing on the now. How does that relate to this analogy?
yeah, I would say, that people should look at the past,
Hmm.
learn from it,
Yep.
and then move on. So you shouldn't be looking at it all the time. You should just be looking to, every now, New Year,
Yep.
new day, New Year's Day comes along. You're like, right,
Woo.
how was last year? Woo celebration, what should we, what did I do last year? Not very much. Great. Okay. I should probably fix that. And then you do.
Yeah.
And then you remember, okay, that's what I set my goals to be because I already did my research, which was looking back at the past.
Okay.
And then you can go, great. Now it's time to move on. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's kind of like a test, right? At school, you fail, you go right. I need to revise those areas more often, and then you kind of have to brush it off because if you keep on focusing on the test, you're really going to put yourself through a headspin. And if you focus on the next test, you're not actually going to learn what you're missing out, where the gaps are.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. That's what I would say.
So, Ollie, you'll be proud to know, I've done some self-reflection in January.
Good.
We're very into
Nice.
the year, and I've already started my self-reflective journey.
Good.
You'll be happy. Pardon?
You've taken notes. This is good.
I've taken notes. I've taken a lot of feedback, and I've decided coding isn't my strong suit.
Yeah, we know that. I know that. Everybody knows it. Yeah.
I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and I just harassed you by saying, "Look, I'm trying to do Unity again. Look, Ollie, I'm trying to understand C# again." And you kind of like put your face in your hands and go, why are you doing this? So
Yeah.
I've made an action plan for this year that you'd be proud of. So
Okay. Just check it before we go into this. Your action plan doesn't involve coding, though, does it?
it doesn't involve coding. I've written
Good.
that off.
This is good.
It's
That's
gone.
good. Okay.
It's dead.
Great. So what's now on this action plan?
Ones and zeros, not my own thing anymore.
Good.
I'm focusing on the creatives because after going to film school, after doing some other stuff and doing my hobbies, I've realized, you know what, the math ain't mathing, the floats and booleans aren't making sense, and if I can't spell, what's the point in trying to work out where my semicolons are on my code?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've taken it upon myself to teach myself 2 things for this year, and I've already started them. I've got some lessons going, and I think they're going holistically well. Do you want to take a pitch at what they are?
It's one 3D modeling,
You're close.
animating.
Yes. So I've taken on drawing. I've picked up 3 books. It's by, I can't remember the company's code. It's like called Taco. It's like TACO, and they're all like Japanese. How to like draw anatomy, how to do that sort of stuff. So I started drawing just to try and get an idea of anatomy, scale, size, and all that sort of stuff. And then I'm working on making some donuts at the moment because I think that's the important thing, because I'm learning how to draw the basics, trying to get my 2D eyes set, and then also working on 3D pictures and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going okay. And then I've been doing that every day, taking 2 pages and just drawing my way through them, then practicing my own stuff so I can kind of solidify my understanding. And then I've also taken on music, back to the guitar, bass, and other instruments. And
Voice. You've got
voice
to
as
be
well.
singing.
I
Yeah.
I, I have taken on some vocal lessons. I'm on my probably
Don't help that person.
pardon.
Nothing. Keep
I
going.
won't be
Yeah.
that person who sings to you on a daily basis. Don't worry.
Yes,
I
but
know when to keep it in
you
check.
do that. You do that already. So
It will sound better. I'll sound less like a strangled animal. I'll sound more like a beautiful butterfly. You know, that's the goal.
I guess I don't have a choice in this. Yes.
You
Okay. Yeah.
don't. You have to
Okay.
just say yes and then we carry on with the segment. This is how we've always planned our podcast. So that's what I'm doing for this year: music and like drawing, design, and Blender stuff, on top of trying to keep a job down and practice my management skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
This is
got
good.
any hobbies or plans for
No,
this year?
I actually don't have any hobbies at
Oh, you
all.
don't have any
Actually, I'm
hobbies.
quite
Okay.
boring. No, I'm quite a boring person. So, um,
I know you don't play
let me
games,
think.
so yeah,
I
no, it's
don't
fine.
play games. This is true because there are no good games. So I think, well, I guess it's good to have aims. Obviously, people know that my full time job is making games, so that is kind of a thing. But we're moving on from that as an actual job. I do have other projects that I work on solo, which I do want to get out there and actually work.
Yep.
So I guess maybe my aim should be to actually release one of these projects and actually not finish it necessarily, but at least put it in early access. You know, like
Okay.
every other game that comes out these days, it's kind of a requirement to release a game. It has to be in early access
It
to
has to be in
succeed.
early access for at least 6 to 4 years for it to be successful, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's why Ubisoft have been doing it wrong the whole time. They just release games that should have been in early access without the label, and then they do badly. So
Yeah.
I mean, amongst other problems as well. But at least then, if I say it's early access, everyone knows it's shit, so it's fine. That's kind of how it works these
Well,
days. Yeah.
it's a bit like cryptocurrency, right? Like, and
Hmm.
I'm not saying the big ones, but like, you know, the smaller ones, like you say, oh, I've got this new cryptocurrency, get involved, everyone immediately invests in it, and then you drop all your shares as quickly as possible and make as
No,
much money as you
so
can.
I'm not attempting to scam
Oh,
people. I
okay.
just want to be absolutely clear. This is not a scam,
Okay.
as you've just insinuated there, unhelpfully. No, this is not a scam, but but they should be fun. And I know we've spoken about one in particular
Yes.
project, which hopefully, which we think will be amazing content as well. So and could then lead to you making animations
Woo!
from us playing the game, you know.
Okay.
So there we go. I've given you some work
Already
already.
put on the work, haven't even been told. It's just like, this is the work
I
you have to
haven't
do.
even installed the game, recorded it, but you're already having to plan animations for it. Yeah.
Don't worry.
Um,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, go for it.
So obviously that's kind of a key thing for me. So that would be nice. I guess that's my aim. So not really taking up any new skills necessarily, although
Okay.
I have been refining quite a lot of my skills by basically working on this as a solo game. I've been doing a lot more 3D modeling, texture work. Obviously anyone who watched my Ludum Dare video
Yeah.
would have seen that I had to relearn quite a lot of things, both from like past like sound design, but also things like using new features in Unity and stuff like that, which is obviously quite important to then use in professional and amateur projects as well. So I think I'll keep those going, although I don't think I'll be doing Ludum Dare this coming year. Take a year off from doing it and just focus on the actual projects at hand.
What?
Um,
Okay.
what?
Why are you not doing Losing Dare this year?
I think the problem is that I need to it's kind of like this project I just mentioned is kind of like one big Ludum Dare in some way. And I think if I actually just focus on that, I don't worry about extra because I usually want to like record these Ludum Dares for my channel. And actually, I think I just need to focus on this game and then actually working on the content for that. So
Yeah, no, I think it's good, and I think it's always nice seeing like a project being built up. So yeah, that sounds cool.
yeah, so that's the aim. So obviously Zombie Arcade I kind of announced earlier this year as a project I'm working on. So hopefully to get that out, I kind of want to have that working with like a few levels with the multiplayer not by October.
Hmm.
But then this other project as an ongoing thing, which probably won't release this year.
Okay.
Well, actually this year, since we're now in 2025. But probably we'll have our videos and progress being made on the YouTube channel, hopefully at some point. Yeah.
Are you going to do anything fun, like, some developers do like cryptic posts on Reddit or like Instagram, and then people have to try and guess what they are? Like, that sort of stuff's quite fun.
I don't have time for that. No, as that sounds not fun to me.
Okay, no, that's fair. I know some people go for that.
Well, as you said, it might be fun for the people doing it, but it doesn't sound fun for me making it. I kind of don't have time for that, really.
Okay, that's fair enough. So watch this space, you're making stuff, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and when we the first video is released or something like that, then we will mention it on the podcast for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm down for that. I think it's a great platform for it, and I think it'll be very interesting as well.
So Tristan, you've recently seen that I've taken up Duolingo. I like to think that this is that I've been making good progress on it, and this is a positive move for me. And obviously, I've basically forced you to add me as a friend, both for I think I had to gain some extra hearts for it because I might have messed something up early in the day. But then also it means that we can challenge each other. So, you've had Duolingo longer than me. So what would you say your opinion of it is?
It's like going to the gym. I think that's the best way to describe Duolingo. If you do it daily, it's nice. It's very relaxing, and you can see the progress happen. When you stop doing Duolingo, you hate yourself for it because you do get nudged, you do get poked by people. In the gym analogy, you get people going, "Why aren't you at the gym?" And then you realize that you're actually not flexing those muscles or those Duolingo muscles, and then it becomes really hard to get back into it. And it's better to go in a group because you can all learn and develop together. That's my view on Duolingo.
Interesting. Yeah. Would you? I mean, it's a video game, so would you say how would you rank it in video games?
I'd say it's like it depends what version of Duolingo we're talking about. If we're talking about base Duolingo, I think it's like D tier, just due to the sheer amount of ads that are around. If it's like Duolingo Family Plan or Duolingo like Super, I'd probably say like A or B tier because you can crack through a lot of content. My issue is I don't want to see an ad for a farming game or an ad for Duolingo Family or an ad for Duolingo Super. Like that sort of stuff really puts me off wanting to go back into the app. And I get it's for like money making purposes, but like that's how I also felt about YouTube as well. I want to watch stuff. I don't want to then watch something else that I have no interest in pop up for like 15 to 20 seconds that I can't skip.
Yeah. But I mean, like, that's the thing but if you think about like mobile games in general, a lot of them use the ad system and stuff like that you need to use in order to kind of, you play a level and then you get an ad kind of thing, which is very similar to how Duolingo works, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's why holistically I don't really play that many mobile games. I've got Pokemon TCG that I'm currently cracking packs open with.
I see you're one of those people.
Yeah. I mean, it's like collecting Pokemon cards without actually having to spend money. But I do hate the fact I get spammed with an advert every 2 seconds. I find that sort of stuff annoying. Like when Ubisoft announced they'll be like, "Oh, we'll be dropping games, but don't worry, there'll be adverts because it's free." I'm like, trash. I'd rather just pay for the game and get it over and done with. Like, I don't know. I get adverts from a money making point of view, but for the love of God, don't do that.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, I think it's quite good. I think like the gamification of certain things is quite helpful. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed.
So I think maybe we'll see more things in the future. Not necessarily for like languages. I mean, Duolingo probably has that kind of locked down for what they're doing, but surely there's other companies as well doing their own thing. But the kind of worksheets and the kind of homework be replaced with this kind of gamification through some sort of like iPhone or Android or iPad app kind of thing that will go ahead.
Yeah, and I think part of the thing is like I know some places are using it as like get to this bit in Duolingo. I think it's a great idea because if you want to do more, you can do more and you're just learning. Like, it's not like reading ahead in a book and kind of going, I don't get this contextually. It's you're applying your pre-existing knowledge and doing it moving forward. Like, I do the math and the music and the French stuff, and I predominantly just doing the music and the math stuff because I kind of enjoyed that a bit more. But it's great because you can just carry on doing stuff. You can carry on enriching your learning, and no one's really stopping you. And like you said, the gamification is done so well. You want to go back and clear off some of the other lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's addictive in some way, but that's because of the reward which comes from video games.
Oh, so I think you're going to say the reward of the green owl not coming to visit you at night and then hooting at you.
Well, they're I guess that's more of the kind of meme section of it. That's the kind of its marketing. Its marketing does it that way. But I would say, well, I mean, you should always fear, Duo the owl. But yeah, he's not going to be visiting me anytime soon. Let me say.
Well, I did laugh because we did our Duo raps, and I was like, "I'm safe from the owl." You did yours, and you're safe from the owl. But Haley did hers, and
that's because I started 3 days before that came out. So I mean, I had 100% record at that point for them. Yeah.
And Haley did her wrapped, and she was not safe from the owl. And my only question is, am I safe from the owl still, or does the owl just make eye contact with me as he, like, I don't know, abducts Haley to the owl world that Duo lives in?
Well, would you not have to go save her from the owl world?
I don't know how the owl world works. I don't know if I'm part of it. I don't know if I'm an accomplice to Duo, or like, is it like a kind of like John Wick thing? Do I have to like go get like a bunch of stuff and go into the owl world and go fight him? Do I have to go find like a bigger owl? How does this sort of thing work? How do you take down Duo?
Would you say Duo is a Pokemon? Could you throw a Pokeball at it?
I was going to say, is there like Uno, and is there Trio? Like, is there like?
That's true. I mean, you couldn't throw a Pokeball at it because Nintendo have that trademarked, as we've all found out from all the legal stuff.
I could release Duo next to me and not have him run away, but yeah,
and it clipped through the floor because that's not how it was built.
Yeah, exactly.
So that could work. Yeah, that's a possibility for sure.
But I think for me to recover Haley, I would need to go find Uno, and I would need to go find Trio, and maybe Quattro, and then we'll go screw up Duo. I think that's how it works. I don't know what the other two would be because Duo's on 2 feet with 2 wings. I don't know if I need to get like a snake, and then like
Flamingo would be Uno, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but he also has 2 legs. That's the issue. Like, I don't know how that would work. And then I need to get like a Morris Minor car for Trio because it's got 3, or like a stool. Maybe that's what I do. I get like a snake, and then I use a stool to beat up Duo.
Wouldn't a snake be No,
because it'd be Uno because he kind of. I don't know if there's anything.
Legs. I don't think snakes have legs.
I don't think they have legs either, but like they've got like one appendage. Does that make sense? I don't know if there's a creature with one.
Called Joe because he's got 2 feet. Or you just kind of made that connection.
I was trying to make that connection as we were talking. I was like, he's green. He's like, okay, he's got 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 wings, and 2 legs. And I'm hoping it's because he's got 2 legs. So I was like, okay, I'll go get a snake, or as you said, maybe a flamingo, but I don't know how that works. And then the stool, I'm like, well, there's 3 legs there, so I could go mess them up. Yeah, that will be my next journey. Will be trying to transcend the App Store, find Apple, and find out where Duo's office is, and going to go fight him.
It's good. This sounds like it could be like a spin-off video game for sure.
Yeah, So this is a couple of contentious questions, and I brought this up at work with a couple of different people, and I'm always interested to hear people's opinions on this. So you've been given a book to read, Ollie. Do you A, buy the book and read it? Do you B, buy the book on Kindle and read it if you own a Kindle? And in this scenario, you do on a Kindle. Or C, do you buy the audiobook and listen to it? What is your preferred format to ingest information, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
The first difficulty is finding where my Kindle is. So if I want to read a book, I normally have to go find it.
Okay.
And it's usually in a drawer somewhere or in a bag when I last took it on a trip.
And
So
it's
that's
not charged, I take it.
well, actually, the battery's pretty good on these
Yeah.
things. You can turn on. It's kind of like a Nintendo DS where you turn it on and magically it still has full battery.
Oh.
So so I would have to find it. Now, once I found it, I probably would check I probably would check, it probably is on Kindle, right? So I probably would just buy it on Kindle once I found it, yeah.
So you'd buy it on Kindle and you'd read it in Kindle as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting because like I spoke to a couple of people at work and I was just like, we were talking about a book I had read called The Phoenix Project, which is an interesting book and it talks about a bunch of different areas.
Isn't that DevOps?
It's DevOps, yeah. And it was just kind of interesting.
I already know the book.
You've already ingested the information, perfect. But
I don't even need to read this book. I just know. Yeah.
Well, I was chatting to some colleagues and stuff like that, and I was just like, yeah, I listened to the audiobook last year on Audible, but I just want to read the book again and like from a physical point of view, just to kind of like redo it. And they were like, yeah, I have to train myself on how to listen to audiobooks. And I found that kind of interesting because I've done that a couple of times where I've picked up an audiobook. It's good. I'm kind of sat there. I'm cozy. I'm enjoying it. And I found myself waking up going, oh crap, I've just missed like 3 chapters of this book. Like, do you think you have to train yourself to listen?
I think it's, well, I don't think it's like, well, I think there's a certain type of mode, isn't it? Like, you're not going to listen to an audiobook when you're probably trying to focus on something else, right? Because then none of the information is going to go in. You'd listen to music. But then if you're like, let's say playing, we've spoken before about types of like games, which would be better off having, an audio book or like a video on in the background. Factorio is one you mentioned previously. So you obviously probably would kind of, you have to be in a certain mode where you're paying attention.
Yeah.
But then also, I don't know, like I would just sit on a sofa with some headphones on and listen to an audiobook.
I mean, I've done that for like occasional things like meditation on trains and stuff like that for journeys. I'm kind of just sat there just like zoning out.
That's different on a train. That's different on a train though. That's like perfect. I can definitely see the audiobook thing, but I'm saying like at home, like obviously you can just whip out a book or Kindle and then just read it on the sofa. Like that seems like a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
I feel like if you put your AirPods in and start listening to an audiobook, it kind of feels like you're raw dogging the entire session.
I mean, do you think there's socially acceptable times to read a book, read a Kindle, and audiobook? Because in my perspective, I think you can listen to an audiobook whenever. Like I've done it before where I've got the house to myself, I'm cooking some food or I'm doing some cleaning and I'm sat there actively listening to an audiobook while doing menial tasks, which I think work. But I'm still doing the tasks, but I'm like actively listening. But from a Kindle and a book perspective, I find it a lot harder to, and I'm trying to change this year, carve out the time to do the physical reading. Like audiobooks for me seem a lot more convenient, especially if I'm like working, I've got something to do, got something to plan. I can listen to an audiobook and almost like split my head into 2 areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, right, like for example, I mean, you're not gonna read Winds of Winter while cooking, are you? I mean, no one is because he's never gonna release it. But I think I think I can definitely see you having audiobook like while multitasking by yourself at home. But like, in terms of like socially acceptable like settings, if you're in a pub by yourself, or a restaurant, it would be acceptable to have a book with you.
Yep.
Okay. But I don't think it'd be acceptable to have headphones on listening to an audiobook while doing the same thing in a restaurant.
I think it's okay if you've got one audio bud in, or if you got those like aftershock things that sit on your like jawbone or whatever it's called, where you can kind of listen to it actively. I think that's okay. But also you wouldn't take a book to the gym to work out with. But I've done that before. I've listened to an audiobook whilst at the gym. Yeah,
so it's the setting and like the situation I think would do it. But like that would, if you're saying you don't read, and actually I spoke to someone recently, I think they listened to the podcast, who said to me that they've only read 4 books in their life. Okay.
Only 4?
But but that's not including audiobooks. They actually mostly listen to audiobooks, right? So, in their life, they're not a very good reader. They can't. Anyway, but so they're much better off listening to them. And so therefore, they are then limited, I guess, when they could do that. Because in the setting we were just talking about, your gym, yes, restaurant, no. But same thing, if you didn't, if you weren't someone who listened to audiobooks, again, you're not going to read a book in the gym, but you will do if you're alone in a restaurant or a pub.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those interesting things because like you almost got to, I don't know why I'm using this as an analogy so much. You've got to practice doing it, like to be an active listener, to take the information, digest it, and kind of spit it back out again, right? Like I think we're both kind of developing the skill during the podcast because we've actively got to listen to what the other's saying and then go, yeah, but also this. And I think that's one of the skills you have to develop while listening to audiobooks. While I think books and Kindles, you almost got to develop that ability to project what's happening in your head. I don't know how you feel about that. It's like skills.
That seems like, yeah, but that seems like reading though, isn't it? Like
yeah, that's what I mean, right?
But some people can't project in their head.
Yeah, which is interesting, which is like a different kettle of fish altogether. Because I don't know how you enjoy reading at that point. Because I really like,
this is like half the population of the world apparently can't do this.
Yeah, and I kind of don't get that to a degree. Because in my head, part of the enjoyment of a book is like if I'm reading, I don't know, they're talking about like I'm a huge Warhammer nerd. I'll put my hands up. I like sci-fi, I like fantasy. There's nothing cooler than like reading something about like the team sat in a rusty tank. You can like smell the oil and all that sort of stuff. Like all the senses start flooding in. I don't know how you enjoy a book when you can't imagine that.
Okay, well, I can't smell oil while reading a book. Okay, that is a lip. I can see. You can smell stuff. You can imagine a smell.
Yeah, can you not imagine a smell? Like if I like
I can imagine like a smell.
Musty, I can imagine what it's like old house. It's kind of got that dusty smell, right?
Yeah, but I can't smell it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't think that's normal. That's not normal.
No, that must be normal. Don't do this to me. Like. You can't like do this.
No, I don't think that's a normal thing. You like no one just sits there and goes, "I'm going to smell chicken." I mean, like I don't think that's gonna. I think I can like again. You can maybe think how something smells, but I don't think you can actually smell it in the moment.
Here we go. This phenomenon occurs because our brains can create vivid mental images and sensations based on the past experiences. When you recall a specific scent, your brain activates areas associated with smell and can create sensations similar to actually experiencing the scent.
I don't know about this. I
don't know. I find it interesting.
It might be a sensation, but I mean, you can't just smell it.
No, but like
otherwise,
I can imagine like
you'd never smell anything bad in your life because you're already thinking like good smells.
No, but like it would have to be like reading the book, right? So like I talked to earlier, it's like you're sat in a tank, you're like in the Warhammer universe, you can smell like the burning oil and like the smoke kicking off the back end of it, all that sort of stuff. Like you get that kind of like
I can feel the sensation in my brain. I can't actually smell it.
Okay, interesting.
So like a petrol station. I can imagine like being in a petrol station right now. Okay. And I know what petrol smells like. I'm thinking about the petrol smell right now. Okay. And I can do it. But when I sniff now, okay, I smell the coffee.
But not even like the twinges and like the kind of bitter kind of snap and bite to like the petrol in the back of your like nose that you can taste or like anything like that. Or sorry, nose you can smell? No? Do I need to go see a doctor or something like that?
I can kind of see what you mean, but I mean, okay, well, this is something I think people should write in about. This is a perfect thing. Can you imagine smells? There you go.
Can you smell imaginary smells?
But it's not even imaginary. It's a recollection.
No, that's what I mean. It's just interesting, and I think it's like, yeah, and for me, when I like listen to that sort of stuff, it kind of works. But like, I don't know, reading.
Can you do the same thing with taste? Can you do the same thing with taste?
Oh yeah, no, taste I can do. Like sour things, I can make my mouth like salivate. If I think about like a good steak with like salt and stuff like that, I can almost like taste it. Or am I just completely fucked? Is like?
Nah, I do like a good chicken sandwich. I'm imagining it right now.
Yeah, like imagine like a crusty or not crunchy. Let me not use crusty. Crusty is the wrong word for it. Crunchy, battered katsu chicken sandwich. Okay. Like piri piri mayo. It's got like that nice wet, like fresh lettuce on it, and it's in like a nice, like
No,
slightly
people
toasted
don't want
sandwich.
wet lettuce. There's this
No,
argument
but
that
like,
wet lettuce is bad.
sorry,
No
not
one wants a
wet, but like
burger with
crispy,
wet
like
lettuce.
fresh. Like you've just taken the lettuce out of the bag into the salad tosser. You've cleaned it, you spun it, and it's got those little like ice cold droplets to it. You know?
I really hope people who are listening to this right now haven't eaten. Sorry, they have eaten recently because this is going to make them hungry.
Yeah. And then you like slice the sandwich. It's got like a little bit of crunch to it as you do it, and then makes that thud noise into the cutting board. And you pull it apart, and you've got like the nice kind of goldeny color, the chickeny color, and like you've got that like almost orangey peri peri mayo with that green salad. Like, yeah.
I don't know how this comes back to imagining the taste in the moment, but yes,
Oh, okay.
I can fine. I can see what you're getting at here. So yeah. So if you read a book, you can be like, yes, I also like katsu chicken sandwiches.
Yes. And then if you're like,
Cool.
oh, I'm in the book, I can also smell the oil and the sulfur and like the musty mothball smell from like a horror film. But yeah.
Okay, well, if you experience the sensations as described by Tristan here, you can write to us at podcasts@dungeoneers.tv. Recently, Nintendo has been firing shots against some companies. They seem very protective of one particular feature, which is the idea of getting some sort of creature from a ball. Now, we all know this to be Pokeballs, that is there. But does that mean that no one else can ever create anything where a ball summons a creature?
I think we're getting to this really dangerous spot with creative industries where we're going to stop developing. Do you see what I mean? Like if Nintendo have already got this pattern out. You can't summon things from balls. You can't throw balls at things to get to be summoned into it. I think it's going to slow down and stop and potentially hinder the video games industry going forward. Like it's kind of like a fad or a trend, right?
I think it's not okay, but it's not like exactly about this Pokeball thing. I mean, there's a broader topic here, which is the idea of being able to patent a video game mechanic, right? And I mean, this is not the first time that this has created a problem. One of the first ever game-related patents that's caused, and a famous one which caused issues, was the idea of mini games during loading screens.
Okay.
And this was one of the first major ones that was kind of put in play, and it has now expired only last year. And basically it meant that, on old devices, we are talking like a long time ago now, I mean, load times were long.
Yep.
Really long. We complain about load times now. They were much worse. And then, developers would put in a small mini game that someone could play in the meantime while it's loading the entire actual proper video game.
Yep.
And then it meant that the person, playing the game didn't feel like they had to sit there waiting, doing nothing. And then this was then patented, and then no one could do it anymore. Now, now it's only just expired. Are we suddenly going to see it in video games? Probably not, because we don't have those problems as much anymore.
Yep.
But people spent years and years and years staring at a loading screen, not able to interact at all because of this issue.
Yeah.
So now that is obviously a very extreme issue that probably should have never happened. That should have never been allowed to be patented. But now we are getting to much more particulars. Now, obviously, like I said, the Pokeball thing is famous, but if you don't call it a Pokeball, if it doesn't work exactly like a Pokeball, then does that mean someone thinks they can put it in their game? Well, yeah, they should be able to, but not anymore, because now we are going to have patent wars against game developers.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to use this as an example, right? It's kind of like Ghostbusters if they're like Ghost Catcher, right? You throw something down, you catch the ghost, you actually own the ghost now, and then you drop it down to release the ghost. What's the difference between that and a Pokeball?
Well, I think it's, according to the image from the actual patent, it's more like the ball being thrown add a creature of some sort to get it and then send it back out again, basically.
But I just think that's so. I don't know what like. I've got the image in front of me, and I think it's. I don't know. It's just really poor. Like, there's no point of doing that sort of stuff because it's just you're stopping people from developing. You're stopping people from taking stories. Like, imagine if a patent came out tomorrow, right, Ollie? You're making a game. You're working on something. They go ultimates. If you do damage and do tasks, and you build up an ultimate, and you click the ultimate, it's now patented. Like, that kills off so many games. Like, look at League of Legends, look at Overwatch, look at World of Warcraft, look at, I don't know, there's like so many different games that have like such similar features, but I think it should be more of a similarity thing, right? So it's all about Power World and Pokemon at the moment, right? So Power World is all about throwing stuff into balls or power spheres and then throwing them back out again. Yes, it's very much like Pokemon, similar concept, but they've got the building, they've got the base building, they've got the adventuring, the fact it's 3D in the open world. Completely different game to Pokemon, I would say. But I think, I don't know, if we start doing this sort of stuff, games are going to take a hit. It's going to be company versus company and selling out their patents and stuff like that to prevent people from doing what they want to do. Like, imagine if tomorrow they're like, oh, I don't know, the more times you shoot, like your zombie arcade shooter, right? Imagine Treyarch or Activision Company go, Ollie, we put a patent on zombies climbing through walls and climbing through windows. And every time you shoot them, you get a score. You keep on doing this, we're going to sue you. You just go, right, but I'm doing something a little bit different. It's got a similar concept, but it's a completely different game. And they go, nope, that's tough. You have to shut down your business or you have to pay me, I don't know, call it £100,000 and then you can use the patent. Like, that's just ridiculous. You're just killing creativity. You're killing ideas and all that sort of stuff. If you make a one-to-one style replica of Call of Duty with like, I don't know, the monkey clanging thing, the mystery box and the Nuka-Cola and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, fair enough. You should be taken to court. But like, if you're trying to do something else and you're trying to develop or you're trying to make like a kill zone or kill floor, like, you shouldn't get punished for that sort of stuff. I just find it ridiculous that we're at the point now where people are so protective of their IPs that they're not yes-anding it. Like, half the fun things that have been developed have just come from mods or come from the community. And that's like the part where you need to improve it. You don't stop at a game and go, right, that's my game done now. I'm going to patent it and that's it. It's just really, really poor. Like extraction shooters, right? We talked about this a bunch of times, which is there's loads of extraction shooters. Some of them are doing different stuff to others. And it's cool to see what they're doing because then they can kind of learn off each other. But if someone took the idea of, I'm going to use Escape from Tarkov here, if someone took that and patented the whole idea, that would be so disappointing. Like, we wouldn't see any other games like that.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is it's not just about the Pokeball thing. It's also about riding flyable mounts has also been patented by Nintendo.
How? Like, World of Warcraft's fucked then, right?
Well, I mean, like this is the deep problem of some of this stuff. But that's also there's the 3 patents which Nintendo have basically gone against Pocket Pair that people make Power World is the catching of kind of monsters in this sense, but then and then kind of like how they battle each other to then capture them. But then also the idea that you can ride a flyable mount over a distance that of a creature of some sort. So yeah, this is obviously a thing, but the problem is Nintendo have already said that yes, games existed before these patents, which were done in 2021, by the way.
Yep.
These didn't exist before 2021, so they can't really go out and sue companies that were already doing it. Because the problem is technically these should have never been approved in the first place. That's the key problem. And they do expire in 2041. So it's quite a big 20 years now we might have to deal with this. But I think it's because video games ideas and mechanics don't get patented too often. So then when these go to, wherever they are in the world, this is both in Japan and the US, patent offices, then they don't know how to handle it. And I also don't know why people don't spend more time trying to reject this nonsense, basically. Because clearly it does need to be fought against. But EA have one. The feature from the Lord of the Rings game, Middle Earth.
Oh, the
Where
Nemesis system.
the Nemesis system that's patented.
Oh god.
And that's again something that's really actually not that complex, really. It's the problem, and that's then got 20 years of people not able to do a Nemesis style system, let's call it, in a game. Even if you name it something else or do it slightly differently, there's always the ability to get called out and say you've copied it.
Yeah, but I think the issue is so many games copied each other to get to this point. I don't see the point of doing it. If you do something cool, you should be rewarded for it. You shouldn't then slap it on and be like, right, that's mine now. Good luck, guys. It's now my thing. You can't have anything to do with it. Because like we just said, right, if they're like, oh, you can't have flying mounts to cover a significant amount of distance. Great. So what's World of Warcraft going to do? Like that's part
Well,
of
they're fine. Like I said, they're fine. But like a new game would now potentially have issues if they tried to do it and then got in the firing line of Nintendo. The thing is, Nintendo aren't going to go sue other companies. They're just suing Pocket Pair because they can't sue them for anything else. So they need to try and get them on things that they probably don't really care too much about.
I think the whole idea behind this is like, this is my hot take, right? Power basically slaps Nintendo and went, you could actually make a good game here. You guys are just being lazy. And Nintendo or Game Freak went, yeah, maybe, but we're going to sue you for it just because like it's rude and you shouldn't have done that. I think if you start patenting stuff, you're not going to challenge and push developers, game studios, and all that sort of stuff. Like after Power had made the game, everyone went, Nintendo, you can definitely improve your games. You can definitely improve this. You can do that. You can actually make a good game like the ones we've always been dreaming about as kids. And Nintendo kind of went, nah, we're just going to remake Diamond and Pearl again, or we're going to remake Black and White instead. Like I think the whole idea of patenting games is just like not allowing competition and basically allowing monopolization of games and stuff like that. It's so sad to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the thing is, the amount of money that they're being sued for is actually not a lot. It's kind of a waste of money. There's more money in legal fees than there is the money they're going to make back. So it is kind of pathetic. But I think it's an interesting thing that needs to be paid attention to for the future, to make sure, both because, if you come up with an idea, how on earth you can't explain really a game mechanic to you can't like go, you can't really search for it in like a patent search, like because there's usually diagrams and stuff like that. Like you don't know if you're infringing on someone else's rights at that point, and design. So it's very easy to go, okay, what's a trademark, and you can look up the name of the trademark, and then it's like, oh yeah, I can't use Coke, someone else is using it. But then for game mechanics it's going to be very difficult. So I think we're going to have to, there will be a point soon where I think it's got to be worked out, can you patent game mechanics properly? And hopefully when the answer is no, this can all go back to normal. But I think it's a dangerous area to leave open for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a, what do you call it? It's not like a, you've stolen it. It's more, I think it's just basically body checking that studio. Just going, be careful what you do and what you say because it's making us look bad. And also, like, I don't know, I'm in the mindset of free use and all that sort of stuff. Like, if someone goes into your game of Zombie Arcade Ollie and copies all your code and repastes it and copies all your assets and repastes it and then goes, I've made Zombie Shooter 52 Arcade Edition. Yeah, sue the crap out of them, destroy them in legal fees. Yep, absolutely do it.
But yeah, but that's the difference. That's copyright, right? Like
no, but that's what I mean. But like, I
can't copyright ideas, unfortunately.
That's what I mean. Like, yeah, because you could design a bunch of different stuff here in the podcast and go, right, I'm going to make a cup that you can do this, and you open it and it like sucks things up, and you close the cup and you keep it. That's our storage system. And if we go patent that, like, what's going to happen? People go, oh, I've got this really cool idea for like a game. And we're like, nope, we've come up with this idea. It's ours now. Oh, okay, you're going to use the idea? Nope, we're just going to sue you in case you decide to use it yourself. It's just it's so childish and so dangerous as well, like you said, and it just kills creativity. And like these sorts of industries thrive on that sort of stuff, like the ability to like dream up what you want, build what you want, build these magnificent worlds. If you then start copywriting stuff like you can't build a spaceship and fly around, like what the hell are we doing here? Like, just go back to work or just go back to do something else. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, Power World in particular have suffered already, and have had to make temporary changes until their update came out in December. So yeah, it's a shame for them. But yeah, watch this space for sure.
We've had some feedback, Holly, on our
Right,
podcast and the topics we've been discussing. On our There Are No Good AI Intros. I got a message from an esteemed listener of the podcast. He's been listening since day one. Wow. And the message read as this.
Thanks for your service.
Bodycam, cozy, you're officially rage baiting. I think we're enjoying this segment quite a bit. If you were to design a game that would be so rage baiting, how would you design that game and what would it be? So the concept here, and listeners at home, please send in your game submissions to podcasts@dungeoneers.tv. And this is your homework for your week if you want to be game designers. What is the most rage baiting or rage inducing game you can possibly make?
It's an easy one though, really.
Oh yeah,
it's easy. It's the jumping games.
Like Jump King,
like Jump King, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. There's was it Jump Together or something like that. Those ones that basically require skill in some form, but the punishment doesn't. So how can I put it? The punishment is imbalanced against the player. So where the punishment is greater than the kind of reward per minute of playing it, basically.
Okay, so it's
so yeah, because basically you can be punished horribly, except like falling down massively, or like the snake from Getting Over It. But there's kind of things where your punishment is so harsh because you've put so much effort into trying to get to where you were, and you just kind of lose it all and potentially more since the last fall, let's say. So those, I would say, fit the most rage inducing game.
Okay, so Bread and Fred, that sort of game. So I think if I was to go and design one, right, I would make a Dark Souls game where you play it once and you have a 24-hour period to get as far into the game as you can. And if you die during combat or by falling, you then reset to the start with a timer. I think that is the most rage baiting game I could possibly make, because you'd get so invested and then you would end up dying and you'd have to reset it, or there are external factors that could screw you over. So if you're playing the game and your game is reset, or you have a power cut, or like your controller dies, that's it. You're punished for 24 hours. You have to go back to the start. Thoughts on that? Like, it'd be like a third person.
Kind of like a roguelike, isn't it?
Yeah. A roguelike where it punishes you, and every time you die, something changes. Like your class would change or something like that.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, that's the... But is that... I don't know if that's like a rage-inducing game. That kind of sounds like normal roguelikes these days. But I guess you say you're not getting any stronger.
Yeah, all your progress is immediately cut back. You're back to level 1, and you're back at the start again.
Yeah.
So all your progress is immediately deleted, like you talked about from like your Getting Over It perspective. But it's like a Dark Souls thing where like you can cheat, well, not cheat your way and grind through it, but you can't like power level your way through a game. You just get punished, you're deleted, and you go back to start.
I mean, people do those, like, obviously there's for the Souls like games, people do the like no death runs, but they have to start at Dark Souls 1 and they have to do all the Souls games but they also do it with no hit, which is even crazy. So I mean, people do that, but I mean, it's a very minimal amount of people in terms of the percentage of the global population who would want to be able to waste their time on such a thing.
Yeah.
So I think, you might come up with this game, but I feel like, so you have 24 hours to complete the game is what you're saying, right?
Yep.
But how is it put, like, as in what's the shortest amount of time you could complete it in?
It'd be like 6 hours.
Six
Or
hours a minute.
I've got another idea which you could add on top of it, which could be rage baiting or rage inducing, which is as you're playing the game and other players die or mess up or cause issues, you're then affected. So if they start dying to an enemy, the enemy gets stronger over time. Or if they break stuff or do bad things, the world's then affected. So like you could do smaller runs. So like imagine, I don't know, imagine you're crossing a bridge. You can run across the bridge and you can get across, but the second you cross to the other side, the bridge crumbles behind you. Everyone else at that point has to then take a detour down into the gorge of the valley, fight the way up and through, and then get to the other side, and it adds on time for everyone else.
Right. So it's kind of like a how would I put it? There is a game kind of I mean, I wouldn't say it's Fall Guys-esque, but like kind of like where you could do something that affects other people.
Yeah. Like you could pull the sword out of the stone and get like a really powerful sword, but you're going to unleash the undead dragon that's currently dead beneath it. And the second you pull out that sword, it's going to come back to life. Or you could leave the sword and the dragon stays dead and everyone else can go past it. I don't know if that'd be rage inducing or rage baity, but I feel like that would be frustrating to play in like a small team of like 5 or 10 people.
Yeah. I think it's definitely possible. I mean, I guess you don't want too many people. It'd be kind of weird.
It'd be like a team set challenge on a server, kind of like a Power Word server or a Minecraft server, like 10 to 15 people, but every time you die, you get reset back to the start.
The thing you got to think about is the rage baited games the most are you got to ask a question like Jump King, get over it. Are they actually fun games?
I think it's one of those things. It's like you get a huge dopamine hit when you do the thing you've been struggling with.
Does that make it fun? Yeah, but that does not like getting a dopamine hit by succeeding. I don't think it's the same as fun.
No, but like
because I can get a dopamine hit by successfully getting to the coffee shop after 10 minutes of walking there, but it doesn't mean I enjoyed the walk getting there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you do it frequently, right? And that's the idea of fun. Like going to the gym could be fun, but you also get a huge dopamine hit every time you do it. Like listening to music or making music's fun, but you don't. It's not. Sorry, you get a huge dopamine hit, but it could be considered not fun. Like I don't know. We play games sometimes, like Escape from Tarkov, right? Prime example here. I get a huge dopamine hit every time we escape. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes I want to grate my face off with a cheese grater. Do you get what I mean?
No, because it's fun all the time.
No, like I have been yelled at you so often, being like, Tristan, where are you? I'm like, I have no idea where I am on this map. All I know is I have.
But how do you not know the maps by now? What's going on?
Well, that's what I mean.
Like, that's a skill issue by you. Well, that's frustrating.
But that's what I mean. Like, what do you want as like some games aren't fun, like they're enjoyable or they tell a story or that's an interesting topic. It doesn't mean they're always fun. And I think if you do that in the game, like we're talking about this roguelike we're designing, where it's 10 of you start in the same spawn zone, you then all have to go reach the end of the level or the end of the game. You can do your different ways of doing it, and you can screw each other over. But once you die, you almost reset to the start and you made it harder for yourself. I think that's rage baiting, but also fun. Does that make sense? Or it's like maybe you can assassinate your own teammates and stuff like that. Maybe it's not a team game. Maybe it's an individual game. There's a winner, but you can screw each other over, right?
Yeah.
That could be rage baiting.
I can see that how your idea could be fun with other people. I don't think it'd be fun by yourself. Like, I don't know what the necessary fun would be during it. But I mean, like, I guess you could say that about, but things like Elden Ring, you can still have fun in Elden Ring while fighting a boss, right? You can find it a cool boss and enjoy it. But if you know at any second that you are about to get reset after 7 hours, I don't think that's particularly great. Like, it's more stress than it is fun.
Yeah, but that's what Jump King is, right? Because you can reset yourself 7 hours of progress by not committing to a jump, and you're back to square one again.
That's not fun. I don't think Jump King is a fun
game. Okay, chain together.
chained together, but that's because it's with other people, it's with your friends.
Okay.
And that's slightly different. Like I don't think Jump King is a fun game. I don't think it was built for fun. It was built. Yeah, I don't. He does that little. He does the narrations and stuff like that, which is kind of weird. But I don't think that makes it fun. It can be interesting at certain bits because, like, you obviously like seeing how the game's put together. It's more like an artistic piece of rage, is how I would describe.
Okay.
Getting over it.
So
I don't think it's been called that before, but I would say it. Yeah.
What's your artistic piece of rage then for our viewer who says that we're rage baiting them constantly?
So it would be a rhythm puzzle game. It would be, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Disgusting.
Imagine if someone made that.
A rhythm puzzle game where some people can't see the colors. There's a set pathway to do it. Yeah, no, that's trash.
It's a skill issue for them, really. Yeah. So that would be mine. Obviously, this game doesn't exist. Clearly not shelved. And yeah, I'm sure people would love to play it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we want to make the most rage baiting game of a podcast, right? Rage baiting game of a podcast, that's not right. If we want to make the most rage baiting podcast, hear me out. This is the perfect idea of how to do it. You start a podcast, and then halfway through, you just stop talking and you just let the rest of the podcast play. Or you have like a 5 minute of just pure silence. Would that be rage baiting in your opinion? I would say it's pretty rageful because you'd be like, oh, like Batman Arkham Asylum when they did the blue screen. I would say that's rage baiting because you think your computer's like offed itself, right? Unless you're playing on Xbox or like PS3 and you're like, oh, it's fine. But I remember when that happened to me on the PC, I thought my PC kept on crashing at the same bit. I looked it up online and someone was like, haha, nerd. It's actually part of the game. And I was like, oh, damn it. Like if you did that in the podcast where you suddenly stopped talking and then you carried on 5 minutes later, a lot of people would probably be like, this is rage inducing. But after this point, the podcast carries on.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that's kind of a weird one, but yeah, I would say that's fair.
Rage baiting, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I like it.
Play games that are fun.
Cool. Well, Ollie, it's the end of another podcast. It's it's a new year. It's the end of another podcast. What are we thinking?
I think this was the same as every other episode we've done. A lot of nonsense, met the criteria that we invented, and yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Are No Good Games. If there's any features or any segments that you particularly enjoyed, please let us know at podcasts@dungeoneers.tv, and Ollie will personally read them and write back to you with handwritten notes. I, on the other hand, only read the rage and the anger, and I think that's fair enough. But thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Cool.